We ain't found Sith.
Warning, the following podcast contains speculation, which may be confused with spoilers, although it may also contain spoilers. You have been warned.
Hey, welcome to what is quite possibly might be the shortest episode of We Ain't Found Sith that we ever live stream. I am your host. My name is Evan. And I've got no idea where my co-hosts are. So I'm just, in the interest of giving you guys content, in the interest of, continuing this slow march to 100 that we've been doing. I'm just going to kind of dive into what's gone on over the last couple of weeks. And, hopefully if you guys are watching this, you can throw up, questions. You can ask me about what I think of things. I'll try to answer them. But with I hope Pedro's all right. I don't know where he's at. He normally swoops in like right last minute, and today that hasn't happened yet. So I'm just gonna get right into it. I want to start off the show. I was really excited going into 2 weeks ago with Masters of the Universe Revelation coming out. And man, the amount of negativity on the internet is just insane. Like, the amount of people just ripping this show a new one. Like, I'm a 40-year-old man. I grew up He-Man in my early childhood. I never got into the comics. By the time the 2002 reboot came around, I was a grown man in college, not really spending my time watching that. Funny to say, because here I am, a 40-year-old man, and I do a podcast on geek culture and pop culture stuff, So, yeah, Gus, I don't know. I've reached out to him. I've gotten no response. I hope he's all right. But I really don't know where he's at right now. Anyway, but just the negativity that has been coming out around this show, and it's not that bad. Like, seriously, like, the original 80s cartoon, as much as we want to look through the rose-colored glasses of nostalgia and remember it as like some epic, amazing show, was 20 minutes of fluff designed to sell us toys with a moral lesson at the end of it tacked on. Every episode was the same. They'd introduce a side character. We'd get that side character story. Skeletor would unleash whatever evil plan of the week he had, and He-Man would show up in the last 5 minutes to save the day. At least with this story, we're getting a serialized story from one episode to the other. There's a lot of talk about, tokenization and woke culture and things of that nature. And to be honest, like, I can see some of it, but I don't see it to the extent that the internet has been calling it out on this. Yes, you're right. Kevin Smith told us He-Man would be in every episode, and technically he's right. I mean, but we also understand that, like, yeah, that's a big bullshit lie, and I really wish he could have just been like, listen, like, I can't really talk about it. It's something that there's an NDA agreement, there's an NDA, and I can't spill the beans. And it's really one of these things where you guys need to watch the show in order to find out what happens. And I can't tell you right off the bat. Maybe an apology to Clownfish. But I mean, really, at the end of the day, Clownfish is a media outlet that exists purely to get clicks, and they run some of the most sensationalized things. Yes and no. In that it has the characters and it's, an advancing of the story, yes. Legally, no. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is owned by various corporate entities that bought the rights off of Filmation. It's one of the reasons why the name He-Man does not appear in the title of the show, is because legally it can't. Spoilers for those of you that haven't watched. We do get a cliffhanger ending. If you've got a YouTube algorithm that recommends these things to you, they tell you about the audacity of Kevin Smith and killing off characters. I don't think these characters are dead. One of the characters, who I won't name, quotes Gandalf minutes before his supposed end. And we all know what happens with Gandalf. And I think similar things going to happen with this character. If you've seen the episode, if you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. In the last minute of the show, we get what appears to be a character death. They go to incredible depths in animation to show you that this does not look like a fatal wound. They could have easily drawn something that looks like nobody could have come back from, and they don't. They clearly show what appears to be a gut wound, which is probably, let's be honest, given the show that we're watching, going to be healed with some sort of magic. They're constantly dropping hints to old storylines that if you know, and if you don't know, well, let's just say, there's some changes coming for characters, and they may not necessarily be the changes that you think they are. I honestly and truly do not believe they're going to make Teela the new He-Man. It's a rumor that has been going around since before the show even premiered, and I don't think that would be the obvious choice, and I don't think they're going to go with the obvious choice. I think if these last 5 episodes, if they're going to do what I think they're going to do, I think it's going to be a good watch. I think that we get a main character with this show who was just sort of given his abilities and given his powers. And I think what we're going to get in the last 5 episodes is we're going to get an earning of those powers. It's one of those things where we take for granted the stuff from my childhood, and we don't realize, that there wasn't really a lot of story there to begin with. So let's... And I know you're going to come after me, and you're going to come after me about, well, but in the comic book series, this and all of that. And given the nature of this show, you are fully within your rights to come after me on that. But I'm just going to tell you, as a kid who grew up watching this cartoon on TV, to my knowledge, a lot of this other stuff doesn't even exist. I've learned what I've learned from other sources and things of that nature. But I don't think... all I'm saying is give the show a chance. Give the show a chance. And if you want to point fingers and you want to say that there's a villain, I think the real villain here is Netflix. I think the fact that we know that the last 5 episodes are done with, fully produced, and are completely ready to go, and then Netflix hasn't even announced when the last 5 episodes are coming out, that's your real bad guy there. From there, next big thing that happened, the whole Black Widow backlash and falling out. This is one of those things where I really wish I had a guest lined up we were going to talk Masters today, and I really wish he could have made it because he is a lawyer. So I would have been great to get the legal perspective. But my understanding is that Disney's contract stipulated we're going to give you this amount to film the movie, and then this other amount will be based off of a percentage of your box office sales. Now, on average, she was making 45 to 50 mil per picture, based off of those numbers. And A, the pandemic, and B, Disney Plus home streaming on the same day as the theater release really hurt those numbers. And then on top of that, she doesn't get a cut of the Disney Plus numbers, which it's like, well, wait a minute. You can track ticket sales, but you're not tracking the number of in-home Premiere Plus sales that you're doing. Give her a cut of that. That's something where Kevin Feige wanted that taken care of before the movie came out. Bob Iger, I am understanding, is just livid at this situation. And you've got to ask yourself, if you are a agent who represents talent, and this is now the new thing with Disney, do you really want to get your talent involved in Disney movies? Hey, you're alive!
El Guapo. What's good, bro? My bad.
Bro. So I quickly kind of went on a little He-Man rant at the beginning.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to hear that because I saw there was a lot of shit happening with He-Man. So give me like Cliff Notes real quick with Kevin Smith.
So, long story short, Netflix releases a synopsis about a year ago, maybe a little bit more. Basically, in the synopsis, they say, there's some stuff that goes down and Teela has to deal with it. And so some of the online outlets started calling out, like, hey, man, we were told we were getting a He-Man show and you're going to give us a Teela show instead. To which, Kevin Smith was immediately like, no, that's not true. He-Man's in every episode, blah, blah, blah. And it causes a back and forth. He doubles down on that stance. The show comes out, and Cliff Notes version, I know you don't care about spoilers because you don't really care about the show.
Right.
He-Man sacrifices himself in the first episode to save the world.
Okay.
Right? The quest then becomes, because He-Man, you remember the toys? You remember how the Power Sword was like two swords that would get put together?
Yeah.
So what he does is he pulls the swords apart in order to like dispel this bad energy that is going to destroy the world. And in doing so, he disappears, Skeletor disappears, magic is gone from Eternia. And so the whole thing is now that, like, they have to come up with this plan that if they can get the two pieces of the sword back together, they can restore magic and save the universe, because the universe is dying.
Ah.
But of course, He-Man's not around. He-Man's gone. So how is He-Man in every episode? Well, they do flashbacks. They do like fake He-Man where it's like a vision that somebody's like fighting with in their own head and stuff like that. And so people were like, "Oh, Kevin Smith's a liar." Granted, people who like watched the first episode and like haven't even watched any of the other ones, and they're talking about how, they're calling Teela's a lesbian and this show has gone totally woke and this and that and the other. And it's like, I watched all 5 episodes. First of all, Teela's not a lesbian. If anything, Teela is struggling with the fact that, like, basically Teela's in love with He-Man and she's pissed because Adam never told her he was He-Man. right?
Gotcha.
She's got a best friend who happens to be a black girl, which yes is a gender swapped version of a male character from Masters of the Universe. So like, oh, woke, and then that's her lesbian girlfriend. Like there's no indication whatsoever that they are anything other than good friends. There is a moment where, she's going to go off. She's going to help out this person regardless of whether or not Teela wants to come because it's the right thing to do. And Teela turns around and she's like, well, wherever you go, I go. And I guess that's what people are reading. But if you're watching the episode, like literally like 5 minutes earlier in a flashback with He-Man, He-Man says the same thing to her. Wherever you go, I go. Because it's like, hey, we're friends. We're in this thing together. And I'm not going to leave you out there hanging on your own. So if people are reading that as lesbianism, then I guess we're all gay for each other. Because how many times have we like had each other's back over something that like we've got no idea what might happen?
Yeah, but we're definitely gay for each other, so that's all good.
That's true. People are pissed because Orko dies. Like, first of all, Orko dies like saving everybody.
So hold on. So Cliff Notes. Everyone's mad because they got what they didn't want, or they didn't get what they wanted, I should say.
It's the weirdest thing too, because it's like everyone on YouTube who has a YouTube channel is mad because I guess being angry gets you clicks,
of course,
and you want people to click on the stuff and all of that.
Yeah, positivity doesn't get you clicks.
Exactly.
Clicks. Sorry.
I'm not that guy. I enjoyed what I watched, and I'm looking forward to the last 5. And then the big thing that everybody's like, so they get episode 5, they get to what they call Preternia, which is like I guess like the Valhalla of the He-Man universe, and we get like all of the old like the people who've had the power before He-Man did. We get like the original King Grayskull. We get like we get Hero, who was supposed to be like the futuristic He-Man that was supposed to be like in the 90s that never happened. We get Wondar, which was like the Wonder Bread He-Man toy that was like if you collect the Wonder Bread bags, and all of that.
Oh, they're trying to just like merge universes.
Yeah, so it's like here, like it's like they're like we're gonna make this like all those like weird characters that were like He-Man like characters. They were people who came before He-Man and wielded the power before He-Man, and now they get to live in this like Valhalla because they were the champions of Eternia. And of course, Adam is there. And Adam points them into the direction of like where they can get the sword. Adam takes Teela to meet King Grayskull, and King Grayskull tells them like how they can get back to Eternia. And one of the things that they point out of it is Adam is the only one who in this like Valhalla is his non-powered self. Everyone else appears the way that they would have appeared when they were like summoning the power and being a champion. Adam keeps trying to talk to Teela throughout the entire episode, but like always constantly getting interrupted. And so it's like like he's trying to tell her like, hey, I'm really sorry that I never told you the truth. I was eventually going to tell you, but the time never seemed right. Like one of like the typical like secret identity thing.
Yeah.
And it never quite happens, but like Adam decides I'm going to go back to Eternia with them because if they need somebody to like put this sword back together and call on the power, like I'm the one who's willing to like do that so that nobody else has to do it for me or whatever. Like I created this mess. I will fix it.
I will fix it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it turns out that the entire time Skeletor has been hiding inside of Evil Lynn's staff. And Skeletor pops out last minute and stabs Adam with his giant staff.
Yeah, he does.
But But they very clearly, in the shot, show that staff is passing through like Adam's gut, like on the side. Like Skeletor could have stabbed him through like the middle of the chest. Skeletor could have stabbed him through like the neck, but instead he stabs him through like the gut. It's like, when in the history of like cartoons, animations, and comic books has anyone died from a gut shot?
Yeah, well, comic books, yeah, because if you get stabbed in the gut, you're dead.
In real life,
that bile is just gonna kill it.
Well, in real life, like that can penetrate layers of intestines and
Infection City, bro. That's what that is.
But in a world where magic exists,
that's no problem. It's no problem. He's gonna be fine.
So, what my sincere hope is, and what I was saying earlier, is I think Netflix is the real villain of the story here, because they ordered 10 episodes. The last 5 episodes are ready to go. They're fully produced. They've got animation, sound, everything's been done on it. And Netflix hasn't even announced when those last 5 episodes are coming out.
Shadow drop. Just gonna drop it out of nowhere.
So what I'm thinking, like if I'm running this show, is, listen, He-Man gets the power like episode 1 without really having to like earn it. He just shows up and the sorceress is like, you're going to be the champion. Here's the power. Just hold it up. Say, I have the power. And suddenly you'll be the champion of Eternia. I think these 5 episodes, I think Adam's going to have to earn the power. I think he's going to have to prove himself as Adam, that he is a capable champion, that he can do it without having the powers of Grayskull. And then in the final episode, he will get his powers back and then just wreck shop as He-Man. Mm-hmm. I think what they were trying to I think like drop by like him being Adam in the afterlife is that he's completely comfortable being himself. He doesn't need the extra powers and abilities of He-Man to be a hero, to be a champion, because that comes from within him. That's not something that is an external power that he receives. It helps him, but he doesn't need it to be a hero.
Yeah.
So I think that's what these last 5 episodes are going to be. Is going to be, he's got to earn it. Throughout the entire 5 episodes, like the 3-4 times that we meet Man-at-Arms is trying to tell Teela that there's something he needs to tell her. And then she keeps cutting him off, or she doesn't let him get to it and all of that. And I think what they were trying to get to is the fact that it was always hinted at in the cartoon series and all of that Teela is the sorceress's daughter. And that as the sorceress's daughter, she is basically the heir to the sorceress's power. So, I think that's where we're heading, is with Teela becoming the sorceress and Adam regaining his powers as He-Man, and then finally defeating Skeletor and stuff like that. But a lot of people are like, oh, it's the Teela show. And it's like, well, you don't know yet. It's halfway through. It's halfway through, and we still got another half to go.
Yeah, so it's what I said, is people angry that they didn't get what they wanted. They wanted pretty much He-Man just beating a, that's the typical thing today. Everybody hates something because.
Which, look, man, I'll be honest, the only show I've ever gone back and rewatched, and it was because I got super excited when the DVDs were coming out, was Voltron. And I started watching season 1 of Voltron, and I never finished watching season 1 of Voltron. I bought the other 4 seasons that came out afterward, and I never watched any of those. I bought them because I'm a completist, and because the fucking tins look cool, because each DVD set came in like a tin case that looks like one of the lions.
Mm.
And it's just one of those things where it was like,
yeah, those cartoons back in the day were designed for toys.
They were 20-minute commercials for toys.
Yep,
that's what they were. Even my beloved Ninja Turtles that I love.
No, Ninja Turtles that's blasphemous. Ninja Turtles is still dope.
But seasons 1 and 2 are great, and by the time you get to like season 3, hey, what new toy can we introduce this week?
Yeah, I loved it.
You know,
I don't know. I have a soft spot for that, but like I used to have all the He-Man, and I could
have
never
a
watch
soft
He-Man.
spot for it. I have nostalgia for it. I can't go back and rewatch it because if I go back and watch it as an adult, it's like I'd rather have the nostalgia of it. You know, at least with this show, I'm getting a storyline because they got some pretty decent writers to write the story for it. Going back to Orko. So they go into like the version of the underworld, like their version of hell, where they face against Skeleglow.
I don't know what that is.
So Skeleglow was like an action figure that was like released. It was like a glow in the dark Skeletor type thing.
Oh, I thought that was just the normal Skeletor because that's the only one I had.
Yeah, but it was like a glow in the dark version, and instead of being like the Skeletor face, it was just like a skull. And the character was named Skeleglow. And they were like, you know what if Skeleglow is like an actual character? And he's like the ruler of like this underworld of Eternia. He's like their Hades, basically. And in order for them to escape and make it to Preternia, Orko uses every last bit of his magic and actually like succeeds in like holding him back so that everybody can escape. But one of the things that like he says to Skeleglow as he's fighting him off is he says, "Go back to your shadow." And "go back to your shadow" is a line from Lord of the Rings. It's one of the things that Gandalf says to the Balrog as he's fighting him in Moria before they both fall. And what happens to Gandalf, Pedro?
He becomes a gray after he dies, right?
Well, no, he was the gray.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember.
He comes back as Gandalf the White.
The White, yeah, sorry.
He comes back as a more powerful wizard than he had previously been. I don't believe when it comes to a room full of writers, especially when it comes to a room full of writers who are nerds, I don't believe they quote Gandalf without like going, yeah, Orko's coming back, and Orko's coming back more powerful. Remember, Orko was always like bumbling, and his magic was always like having the opposite effect of what he actually wanted to have.
The little character, right? The little tiny dwarf-looking character.
Yeah,
he was like a cartoon.
He was the comic relief. He was the little every time he did magic that would fuck up, and he wound up causing more trouble than he was actually.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah. Well, it kind of starts off that way here too, in that Orko's trying to help, and his magic doesn't do what he wants his magic to do, and it ends up with him actually being able to like use his magic to help everybody. Of course, he's coming back, and he's coming back more powerful than ever, and he's coming back being able to do the magic as he's supposed to be doing the magic. It's one of these things. Like everybody was talking about, like, oh, because Orko, his wand broke, and that's why he could never do magic. Like there was no wand in the '80s TV series. That was an invention of the 2002 reboot series, and you guys are conflating like one thing to another. Like for the people who are our age, who like maybe wanted to introduce their kids to this, they might not know the 2002 series, and for the people who saw the 2002 series, they might not have been alive when the 80s series was on. So like you can't like say, oh, it's canon, because technically there's no canon. They were two separate series and they weren't actually associated with each other. So it's like weird things that the people are doing. But anyways, from there I jumped onto the topic of the Scarlett Johansson lawsuit to Disney. Which I believe she's fully in her rights.
For sure she is.
That movie was supposed to come out theatrically. She was supposed to get a cut of the ticket sales, and they did same day Disney Plus release. And that they charge people $30 for the same day Disney release. That should count like 2 to 3 movie tickets for the actor. Like, oh, it pulled in, 10 million in the box office, but if it pulled in like 100 million on home sales, she should get a cut of that sales, because Disney's just pocketing that money and they're not giving her a cut of that. And it's like, that's shady as shit. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know, bro. It's a different. We're living in a different time because maybe people just didn't watch the movie as much. You know what I mean? Like people didn't go to the movies.
But we'll never really know that.
Exactly. I didn't watch it. I've seen every single Marvel everything up until recently, and I didn't go watch it. You know
I saw it.
So
I dropped $10 and I went to see it.
There's probably a lot of people like me who just don't care anymore. You know what I mean? Just don't want to go watch. Well, this is the first movie after the big finale. You know what I mean?
And that's another factor people aren't talking about. It's like, well, it's the first movie at the big finale, but it's a movie starring a main character that we already know their fate, because you're giving us a prequel story prior to the.
It was bad timing. It's like I agree with Scarlett Johansson because that's her fucking right. Because it's in paper. They broke the contract. They broke the contract. But do I think do I think it's only fair because it's written on paper. You know what I mean? It's part of her contract. But I think there's a lot more factors that go into it. It's because it's on paper, she has that argument. But I would argue, obviously she should get her money, but I would argue
Disney was trying to pull the COVID card.
Yeah, but that's legit.
Well, to a certain extent.
People aren't going to the movies like they used to, man.
Right. But when you're charging $30 for in-home streaming, which is the equivalent of like 2 to 3 ticket sales, depending on the type of ticket.
Yeah.
You should be cutting in your actor on a portion of that, because you can't do the wide theatrical release like you normally would have done.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. It's only because on paper, she's right. Because if you want to count all that shit, when I was a teenager, I don't think I paid for a single movie ticket. I would always sneak in. You know what I mean? Like there's factors. You know what I mean? There are people who buy one ticket and watch everything in the theater all day long. You know what I mean? There are people who do that. So if you're gonna really dive into that, all the specifics, then
right. But that the number of people who do things like that are in a very small minority.
No way. That's very high. If with teenagers in high school,
just because you and your buddies did it doesn't mean that me and my buddies did.
Yeah, but all right. Well, I mean, I know more people.
We ever did was like sneak into one more movie on like a Saturday afternoon.
Then there you go. There you go. You did it too.
But I would sneak into like one more movie, and I did that like I could probably count on one hand the number of times I did that in my life.
Nah, but that's like so normal, bro. I don't think. First off, teenagers don't have money.
That's so normal.
Dude,
time is a valuable commodity, man. A lot of people go to the movies, they see the movie that they're going to see, and then they go on and they do other shit with their life.
You're thinking an adult. These movies aren't marketed for adults. They're marketed for teenagers, little kids. These movies, for sure, aren't pulling in the audiences that they want. There's a bunch of people watching it, but they could be making more money if everybody was, I think, if everybody was honest. But they're teenagers. Teenagers don't make money. They're fucking in high school. All they have is time. You know what I mean? Right. So like going to the mall and going to the movies, that's a whole event for them. You know what I mean?
God, I
highly
miss those days.
Yeah.
No responsibilities.
Yeah, bro. I don't think that's a case, bro. I'm pretty sure majority of teenagers don't pay for their fucking movie ticket. They'll like either hop on, they'll either use someone else's ticket or they'll sneak in. That's
mom and
more
dad's credit card.
That's so well. I mean, that's also a possibility. But if they're doing it, I don't know. The people I grew up were scumbags. So if they were doing it, it was probably like one ticket, pay for one ticket with mom and dad's credit card, and everybody else gets in free.
All right. Well, anyways, I say she's fully within her rights.
Me too.
I'm willing to bet they didn't do this shit to The Rock with Jungle Cruise. I bet you they gave The Rock a cut to make up for the lost ticket sales for Jungle Cruise.
I think it's the opposite. I think The Rock put it in his contract, if anything. Scarlett Johansson has been on.
Remember, all these films were like made like before the pandemic was a thing.
Even the Jungle Cruise?
Yeah.
Oh, then.
Yeah, bro. These movies take like 2 years of post-production work for effects. You know, The principal
No,
photography was done.
all these actors, they have different negotiations with the studio, so you never know.
It's the agents, right?
Yeah.
I guarantee you, agents everywhere are now, whenever they go to do a contract with a movie studio for their talent, I guarantee you they're going to be putting that into their contracts.
They have to. This is the new normal. People aren't going to go back to the movies like normal.
No.
It's so convenient. I saw Suicide Squad because it was at home. If I had to pay extra to watch it on HBO Plus, I wouldn't have watched it.
No, well, that's another thing. Like they were talking about, the numbers for Suicide Squad were not that high.
Yeah, because nobody cares about DC movies, but you know.
Yeah, but I was very happy to have it, and I'm very happy to HBO for not making me pay extra to see it.
Exactly. But this is the new normal. You have to negotiate this shit because you know.
Anyways, now that you brought it up, let's get into the meat and potatoes of tonight's episode. Suicide Squad, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
I love any movie where, like, well, no, love's a strong word. I enjoy most movies where I can shut off my brain for 2 hours and just see interesting visuals and cool action sequences and just have fun. And this movie is like just pure fun.
This movie, you know, I just got to give. I'm not even going to praise the movie. I'm praising the director, bro. James Gunn kills it every fucking time. One of my favorite comic book movies ever is Super. Remember Super with the guy from The Office? I love that fucking movie. And why do I love that movie? The characters are fucking great. Like, the story is stupid as hell. It's this dude who wants to be a fucking stupid-ass story. But the characters are so lovable. They're so good, so relatable. And that's what he does with every fucking movie he does. Guardians of the Galaxy, why is it so great? You can relate to all of them, you know, except for Drax. But you can relate to everybody because you're not invisible. Only one person is, and he's in this movie. And you know, fucking...
Well, we've got invisible people in both movies, in Guardians and in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, exactly. So like you can relate to them because they're fun. You know what I mean? And that's the one thing that a lot of movies, not just like comic book movies, but a lot of Marvel has a pretty good character development, but their storylines are usually trash. But like, I don't think they shine past the story. You know what I mean? This one, the characters shine so much past the story. I didn't give a fuck what they were doing. I just wanted to see them do it together. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, the story is so stupid. You go to, we gotta destroy this thing. That's it. That's the story. Fucking dumb, but it was fun. I wanted to see the shark do his fucking thing. I wanted to see Harley Quinn be fucking crazy. I wanted to see Deadshot, or what's his name? Not Deadshot.
Which, by the way, can I just say how great like her escape scene is? Like when everything goes into like hyper stylized mode, and like,
bro, I love that.
All the blood is replaced by flowers.
Flowers, yeah. It's. I don't know if this was the inspiration for that shot, but there's a game called Team Fortress, and there's this like really fucking evil character called the Pyro, and he kills his weapon is a flamethrower, and it's like the most when you kill somebody with it, they scream in agony. But they made a video introducing the character through his perspective, and he's so deranged and crazy that he only sees rainbows, lollipops, and babies, and he's shooting people with rainbows instead of like fire. So he thinks he's making people happy, and the screams that you hear, he hears laughter. So he's doing it like as a way to like, oh, I'm making you happy, you know what I mean? But he's actually killing you. And that reminded me so much of Harley Quinn, except she didn't look like she was happy. She looked like she was getting revenge. But everything you see is flowers. There was like butterflies and like birds, CG birds and hand-drawn birds like hanging out in the scenery. It was so cool. Yeah. But that gave me that same vibe.
Yeah. And just again, man, you know, John Cena and Idris Elba, they're back and forth.
Hey man, John Cena, fucking great actor. He's so good. He's funny. He's like he's got the timing down for comedy, which whenever I see him in like interviews, it looks like he's like working on it, but he never seems like it never hits, you know, the comedy.
Okay, I mean, keep in mind this guy has been a pro wrestler for 20 years. So
yeah, but pro wrestlers are usually really bad actors. like really
right.
bad.
But he's a highly charismatic person. When you watch him in an interview, you could tell he's like trying to hold himself back and not cut a promo.
Yeah,
because that's what this guy does for 20 years. This guy's gotten paid. Yeah, he's gotten paid to be a wrestler in the ring, but he's gotten paid mostly to like get on a microphone and talk in front of like a crowd full of people. And it's like you could tell like when he's talking to like he wants to go like full on promo and like talk about like all of this stuff, and it's like no, I got to hold myself back. I got to be humble. I got to talk about the experience of making this movie. Like you could see it. The wheels are turning up there, and it's like he's trying to like.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing that bothers me when he's like doing interviews, because I always see it as him trying to think of a joke, and then when he says,
because he's also got an image to uphold, right? Like he's been the clean cut babyface good guy for 20 years. God forbid he lets something slip that like reflects badly on him. That then when he shows up at a live event somewhere, because he's in WWE right now. He's gonna wrestle Roman Reigns and SummerSlam. Like he's not done with his wrestling career, so he's still like trying to walk that fine line, and he's still got that mentality of like we're at WWE, we're a PG product. I have to keep it when I'm in front of cameras and I'm being myself. I have to be PG.
Yeah,
but you know that he wants to like you could tell he's having so much fun when he gets to like curse and
yeah, that's why people. I guess that's why because dude, this was in the trailer, but still it was awesome. The whole the beach full of dicks. He's like, I'll eat every single one of the dicks if it's for liberty. I'm like, dude, that's the way. The joke wasn't funny. The delivery was funny. Yeah, the way he was like so like clean cut and like it's honest about it.
And it's also kind of like a continuation of like the not so subtle like I'm secretly gay stuff from Trainwreck.
I never saw Trainwreck. I don't watch.
Well, in Trainwreck, he plays like one of the guys that's like dating Amy Schumer.
Okay.
And like the whole thing of like him when he's dating Amy Schumer is that like he met her at the gym, and then he starts going into this thing, and he's like, I think the first thing I noticed about you was your ass, and like I think you were doing squats, and I was like, you're just your ass. It looked like a guy's ass. and then like he makes like he's almost about to come. like while saying that like her ass looks like a guy's ass. So it's like this like secret like poking jabs at himself of being like this, hyper male by like secretly intoning that he's secretly gay or whatever. Which is just like hilarious.
Yeah.
And like that whole delivery of the like if this beach was covered in dicks and I had to eat every single one of them for freedom, I would do it. like
for liberty, bro. The guy loves liberty. Yeah, man. His character was. I fucking loved it.
I'm actually looking forward to the series.
Oh, they're making a series? Is that what the ending credits was about?
Yeah, the whole they're doing what's his name? Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing a series starring him.
Peacekeeper, I think it was.
Oh, whatever. But it's like it's one of those things where it was like they had fun doing the movie, and I guess James Gunn was bored, and was like, "Listen, during the pandemic, I was bored, so I wrote this like 10-episode series starring your character. Would you like to do it?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm on board." Like, and they filmed it during the pandemic, so it's like, we got that to look forward to.
Yeah, James Gunn, bro. I love that guy.
I want to see who they put for him to play off of in the series. Because one of the things I think it's so great is he's got that whole dynamic with Idris Elba where, like, they're both, like, these, like, alpha guys.
They're the same character.
Yeah.
With different, like, same character.
My bullets are smaller than your bullets, so, like, my bullets go in your bullet holes.
That's literally what happened at the end. It was good.
Yeah. But yeah, man, like, so it was just fun. David Dastmalchian as Polka Dot Man.
That's what I was gonna say. I love that character. I didn't like that character up until he revealed that he imagined his mom.
He imagines his mom everywhere,
and then everything became his mom. That was the funniest thing.
The dance scene. when he's just like surrounded by his
By
mom.
his mom, yeah, it was so good.
You know, when he sees Starro as the giant version of his mom.
Bro, you know what? My favorite thing about the movie is that they made it a comic book movie. Starro was a character. Yeah. You know what I mean? If this was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, they would never do this.
Starro
would.
We can't do that. People wouldn't take us seriously.
Exactly.
And James Gunn is like, exactly. People won't take us seriously.
This is awesome. Yeah. And then they do Starro, and it's awesome. Like this is what Watchmen the movie needed. We needed that squid thing. They took it out, and back then that was unheard of. You can't put a squid monster. That doesn't make any sense. And fucking a couple years later, here we have Starro smashing a town.
A couple years later, you get the Watchmen the series.
And you get that too.
And they actually have the squids.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, it's just the right time, bro. And it felt so good to see a comic book, because comic books aren't always serious. A lot of the times they're doing like side missions that are very stupid. You know what I mean? Everybody, even like Batman. Even Batman sometimes has to like stop not the Riddler. There's like Question Maker or some stupid thing. It's just a guy who does little puzzles, and he has to like, you know what I mean? Like they always have a stupid little thing going on. And this movie shows you that, you know what I mean? Like that's something that we miss. Like all Batman movies are like very hyper realistic also, which bothers me. Like, you know, there's a reason why you have a character who's dressed up as a fucking bat in a city and people respect them. You know what I mean? Like in real life, you're gonna be like, get out of here.
In real life, that guy would be arrested and thrown into an asylum.
Exactly. So like, you don't need to make everything realistic because it's already by design not realistic. You know what I mean? So just ride that wave. So I fucking really love the fact that Starro was in it, and you had, what was his name? Brainwave or Brainiac? What was that guy's name?
The Thinker.
The Thinker. You have a guy who, again, 10 years ago, he would have been a guy with like a little bit bigger head, like just aesthetically, I'm saying. His head would be a little bit bigger, and he would probably have like little patches on it for the little nodes or antennas. That's how they would, you know, pull it off. Try to make it as realistic as possible. This guy was a comic book character. His head looked like a fucking light bulb, and there were spikes coming out of it for like, you know what I mean? Like antennas. That looked awesome.
Like a Hellraiser character.
Yeah, it looked so fucking cool. And he was walking into a bar and nobody fucking flinched. It's like, yeah, that's normal. You know what I mean? I love that, dude. That's what I wish we had more of. So I really like that we, you know.
Yeah.
I really like that they kept this comic booky shit in it.
You know, we get freaking Ratcatcher 2.
That was the realistic character.
The heart of
the
movie.
Yeah, the heart. That's what I was trying to get to. That was the heart of the movie.
Which, god damn it, bro. The little fucking rat. Like,
it got me, bro. I hate rats, but that rat got me. That was so,
you know?
Good. Yeah.
But there's a female character who's a strong female character who doesn't need to constantly remind us that she's a female character.
Oh, I mean, just look across the aisle on that one. Harley Quinn. They made her a fuck badass. Yeah. Harley Quinn in the comics is useless. She's just Joker's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And in the recent, I don't like the other movies, but I like this one. And her scene of her escaping in this one was total badassery. You could interchange her with a dude, a horse. It doesn't matter. It was still fucking cool.
Well, with her growing popularity, they've been giving her more and more stuff to like. But yeah, it's a character. It was a character was invented for one episode.
And you know what's the
character?
And you know what's the best part? She wasn't hypersexualized in this movie. Mm-hmm. She wasn't. She didn't have like the what is that thing that Ray had? What not the Jane Doe? What was that shit?
The Mary Sue?
Mary Sue. She didn't have the Mary Sue thing. She still had her flaws, you know what I mean? She was still dealing with her trauma with her ex-boyfriend. With, you know, that whole scene where the guy was like, "Oh, marry me," and she shoots him in the throat. That was so fucking cool. And she was like, she's a lunatic, so she thinks that's normal. But what she was really doing was she was like unloading some trauma. She was like,
"Yeah,
I dated this fucking terrible dude, and I'm not going to do it again."
I dated a sociopath for however many years, and I told myself that if any person that I was involved with had red flags, I would immediately like kill them.
Kill them. She literally
would walk away from them. Not I would put an end to the relationship. No, I'd kill them.
No, kill them. Yeah, immediately.
Granted, you know, they did in taking over the country. They did slaughter an entire family, including the children.
Yeah,
so deserve to die.
Yeah, no, he's a piece of shit. But you know that there's ways to do it. You know what I mean? You don't have to make it like, look, it's a girl and she's a badass, and just constantly focus on that. She was just a cool character.
But the reason that I bring up Ratcatcher too is that because she's the new character. She's the one we're being introduced to.
I love the fact that they did Ratcatcher 2, because Ratcatcher 1 is a Batman villain, and he's super under the radar. So this is a good way to like.
Well, I love. Hey, it's an unhealthy relationship because he's a villain who invented a thing of controlling rats, and he's teaching his daughter how to use it. But he loves his daughter, and he wants to protect his daughter. No, he just happens to be also a heroin addict. But it's kind of sort of like a healthy father-daughter relationship, which I can't remember the last time we had something like that in a movie or TV show. Because fathers and daughters always have to be like at odds because dad walked out or dad was overprotective or whatever. So like having this whole thing,
I think that was more designed so that you could have the what's his name, Bloodsport character be the father figure, because that was a very big scene at the end where she was about to die and he gives up the whole selfishness shit to save her. So like, you know, that was the idea behind that whole thing. But absolutely, she is the heart. She is the reason why you care, you know, about anybody. You care about the shark. Why? Because she cares about the shark.
Yeah.
You care about the team. Why?
Which
cares about the team.
Bravo, Sylvester Stallone.
I didn't know that was him until like after I saw the movie, and I was like, dude, they're getting like these big action stars to play like
Sylvester,
one line.
Like you know he's buddies with James Gunn, because how else does James Gunn go like, you want to come play the voice of this giant shark character?
Hand. That was like my favorite. Hand. It's so good. Yeah. Yeah, but you care about the shark because she cares about the shark, and you care about the characters as a unit because she cares about the unit. You know
exactly.
What I mean? And that's what makes her stand out, and I fucking love it.
You know, I am a little sad that they just like wipe out the other team at the beginning of the movie.
Did you think they were gonna last? The second I saw that lineup, I'm like, bro, all of these guys are dying.
Well, I didn't think they were gonna take out Captain Boomerang.
Yeah, that one caught me by surprise. No, the one that actually caught me by like for real surprise was the long-haired guy.
Savant.
Savant. Because the way he played him, he looked like a total badass. I thought he was going to be the new like, not main character, but he was going to be the plot. You know what I mean? It was going to be about him doing something. Like maybe he had to get into that thing and maybe sacrifice himself to destroy it. I don't know. I was something like that's where my mind was going. Just the way he played him. And the way he carried himself, and how the first scene is him throwing the ball, like all that shit, kind of like just builds up this character like he's something better.
Which, by the way, bravo, marketing team on like hyping up this giant team of superheroes and having all of these actors use like their social media platforms to like promote like when the movie trailer came out and all of that, even though like they were all dead within the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't buy that shit for 1 second. I knew it. And the second I saw that, I'm like, bro, you're gonna have what's his name, Pete Davidson. Come on, this guy's dead in like the first 10 seconds. He's not gonna be a like an actual.
Well, there's certain characters you expect that with, right? Like there's that. There's obviously Nathan Fillion is not in this movie. Is not gonna be in this movie for too long.
Yeah, he's supposed to die immediately.
Yeah,
and he dies awesome. He throws his stupid ass arms and they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
The reason why I knew they were gonna die mostly is because one, the actors were all like, you're not gonna hire them to be main characters. One, and two, every single one of those characters were flunkies. All of them. You had a guy who throws a javelin. You have a guy who just attaches his arms. Like in the comic books, that's literally all he does. And he can't even make them float. He just hits people with his arm. It's stupid.
I like how in the movie they float, but they still move at like a normal human speed.
Yeah,
like you're just kind of going down the beach, like
it's so stupid. But yeah, like all the characters, you have a weasel.
Although he might not be dead.
Oh, he's dead.
No, he's listed on the when somebody I saw one of those things where like people go back in and like they look at like all the Easter eggs and all that. He's listed as being in critical condition.
How? Where?
Well, because remember his arms got shot the hell up, but his body was like further away on the beach.
Oh, I thought his body got shot up, or maybe that was Javelin. Javelin. One of these guys got like
the Javelin gets fucking.
Yeah.
Take my javelin and.
and then Harley Quinn again. Fucking
what
awesome.
Were you gonna say?
What were you gonna say? And then the guys all surround. Like he didn't finish his sentence. I don't know what he was gonna say. And then the Weasel. Obviously, come on, that guy. Come on. But what surprised me was Savant.
Did anybody check if the Weasel could swim?
And then the people in the office, they were like all betting. It was so good. And then Savant was scared. What flipped it on me because I actually thought he was going to be a main character or like something important. Bro, he was the only pussy. He was the pussy. He was like, "Fuck this, I'm out," and gets his head blown up.
Gets his head blown up.
I was like, man, they tricked me on that. And then you see the second team. I'm like, okay, this team is the legit team. This is the one that's not going to die.
And so much fun.
Yeah,
the whole thing where like when they take out all of the soldiers, and it turns out they were the resistance fighters.
Yeah.
Like King Shark swallows one whole.
The lady's like, you didn't see anybody out there? Like, no. It was the what's his name? The wrestler guy. He was like, no, I didn't see anybody. There was no one there. He's literally just like murdered all of them. It was so good. And Bloodsport, I didn't even know that was a character, but that's just Deadshot.
I think Bloodsport. You remember Icon?
No.
It was in the 90s, and like DC decided to do like an entire lineup of like characters that were people of color. Like they had characters like there was like Hardware, who was like like a version of Batman. There was a guy named, and it wasn't called the lines wasn't called Icon. Icon was the name of one of the characters. He was like a black Superman and all of that. But it was like in the 90s, and they did like an entire like lineup of, hey, let's just do an entire lineup of like black and Hispanic superheroes.
I didn't know about that. So that's where he came from?
I believe that's where Bloodsport came from. I could be wrong, but I believe that's where he came from. Like that's where they introduced like Static Shock and stuff like that originally.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I know Static Shock. I don't know any.
Milestone. That was the name of the. It was Milestone Comics, but it was owned by DC.
Oh, okay. It was,
and it was just like, hey, let's just introduce a brand new lineup of comic books, and it'll all be done by like black creators and Hispanic creators, and we'll just get like we'll get. It was like a '90s version of let's get diversification, but it was like let's introduce a bunch of new characters, not let's take characters that are already established and exist and just race swap them.
Yeah,
which is what they do now. Because now we're lazy.
Yeah, because people don't have creativity. But I didn't know. I knew Deadshot because Deadshot's in Batman, and this guy was just Deadshot. I guess they wanted Deadshot to be in it, but Will Smith either didn't want to do it or couldn't do it.
It's funny because I was watching a YouTube channel that does like reviews and things like that, and they were talking about like. He was like the reasons why the Suicide Squad didn't do financially what they thought it was going to do. And he goes through like all these lists. It's like 5 different things that occurred. And one of the things that he puts down, I think it was like the last thing on it, was like Will Smith movie sequels without Will Smith. And apparently it's like there's been more than one and they've financially flopped.
Was he the main character of the first one? I can't remember.
Yeah, Deadshot was like the main guy.
He was the main character. Okay, so yeah, that is his sequel. This would have been his sequel, but this is technically not a sequel because it's not Suicide Squad 2. It's the Suicide Squad. This is a recon.
Not a sequel, but it is a sequel. It does acknowledge the existence of the previous.
A soft reboot. That's what it is.
Yeah. But man, just. It's a fun time. If you have HBO Max and you haven't seen this, go watch it.
Yeah, if you even want to go to a theater, you should go watch it.
If you don't have HBO Max, I'm sure you have someone who does, and I'm sure you know someone who does.
I think it's worth. I mean, if in my opinion, if I could spend $12 to watch all these Marvel movies, this is This is up to par with a Marvel movie.
Yeah. And let's be honest, like movie theater ticket prices have not skyrocketed.
Yeah.
If anything, I think movie theater ticket prices may have come down a little bit because I think movie theaters are trying to pull people into the theater.
Yeah.
You know.
So like, yeah, if you like those Marvel movies, you'll like this shit. This shit was fun. This shit was good. It wasn't lazy writing. It was actually there was like funny moments all over this fucking thing.
Now, you said you haven't seen Black Widow?
No, I have no interest. She's died. She's dead. I don't need to fucking watch this.
But it's funny because Yelena Belova, the other character, she's actually quite fun. And David Harbour playing
He's the only reason why I'm intrigued to watch it.
He does a good job, and I really enjoy his
I
Red Guardian.
I kind of like the idea of a fucking fat Russian Captain America.
Well, it's funny because like there's this like whole thing that's like throughout the entire story where like he keeps on telling people like when he fought Captain America, which he would have fought Captain America in like the 60s or 70s or something like that. And you're like, no, but Captain America was frozen in ice. Like, well, but maybe he fought freaking
Yeah, you mentioned that last time. Yeah, that was the black dude. What's his name?
God, I'm blanking on the name.
I can't remember the name either. But I know who you're talking about. The black Captain America, the one that they didn't want to talk about.
Yeah, but it's funny because maybe that's who he fought. Like,
yeah, maybe he thinks Captain America is the black one. He doesn't even know about the white one.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers.
Especially because he's been in a gulag for like 30 years.
Yeah, that's the only character that makes me intrigued for that movie. But it's not free. I'm not gonna. I have no interest in seeing that movie.
It will be eventually.
Yeah, I'll watch it eventually. I'm not saying I'm boycotting it. I'm just.
And speaking of which, they did drop What If Episode 1 came out today.
Oh, word? Is that good?
So What If Episode 1 is Captain Carter.
Okay.
And the animation is pretty intriguing.
That's the only thing that
it's just
gets me intrigued for any of these shows.
It's this animation style that I've seen it before. I just can't picture exactly where it is that I've seen it. I want to say it's like what they call like soft cell animation, where it's like you could see like the outlines on the faces and stuff like that, like of the and all that. I don't know. You're the art guy.
I don't even know. Is there like a
You remember like the Zelda, the Wind Waker type?
Oh, okay, that's cell shading.
So that's cell shading. That was what I was thinking. Yeah, it's like this like animation style where like it almost looks like they filmed it live and then went over it and like drew over like all the lines and all of that. Because like it's got like hard outlines and stuff like that, like on the faces and on the bodies and things.
Yeah, I'm looking at images right now. Yeah, it's
But they do this whole thing with like, the what if it was Captain Carter, and the way they do it is that like the attack during the super soldier serum thing occurs a little bit earlier. Like they do this whole thing where like it's a callback to the movie where they go, Agent Carter, wouldn't you be more comfortable, up in the observation booth? And she goes, but in this time, instead of her going, she's like, no, I think I'll just stand over here. And then she notices the guy, and the guy sets off the explosion earlier. So like instead of like Steve going through the thing and then the explosion goes off and he tries to run off with the serum and all of that, like he tries to steal the serum before they even injected Steve. And like everything's on fire, and Howard Stark is like, we got to get Steve in the booth or we're going to lose we're going to lose the ability to do this. And Steve is in no condition because Steve has been shot. And so she jumps in the thing and she gets the super soldier serum. And then Steve survives. Steve is kind of like,
she's the Carter. He's the Carter character.
Well, they're there for each other. And then Steve basically talks her into like no, you need to like be assertive, and you need to like if they're moving the Tesseract, you should go like get to that before it falls into the hands of Hydra for good. And so they wind up doing the attack a little bit earlier. They get the Tesseract for themselves. Howard makes an Iron Man suit, and Steve becomes the pilot of the Iron Man suit.
Oh, okay.
So like they do this whole little thing where it's like this little twist on like what we know in the MCU. So it's
kind of cool.
Yeah. The animation, I was like, there was like moments where I was like, okay, did they animate any other like attack moves for Agent Carter for Sharon Carter? Because like all she does is like she bangs one guy with a shield, she bangs another guy with a shield, she kicks the other guy into a wall. And
that's what she does the whole
occurs like 10 times throughout the anime. It's a half-hour animation. This happens like a bunch of times. I slam this guy with a shield. I slam that guy with a shield. I kick the guy, and he goes flying across the room. You know, I throw the shield at that guy. It bounces back. I throw the shield at that guy, and then I kick this guy. And it's like okay, I get it. I also think they amped up her powers a little bit because she literally grabs the shield and crashes head on into a truck and like flips it up over her head. And it's like Captain America is not that powerful.
Like, isn't he? I think he is.
Actually. No, he's extremely durable and he could take a beating and he's like, you know, he's stronger than an average person.
Bear.
But he can't lift a truck. That's the Hulk.
I think he can actually.
I do not recall a single incident in any of the movies where Steve Rogers flips a truck using a shield.
I think he does do that. Oh, I mean what's his name?
An oncoming truck, and she goes like first into the truck.
Isn't that
like does one of these and flips it over her head?
Isn't that what U.S. agent
the Hulk does to the Leviathan?
Isn't that what the fucking U.S. agent did at the end of the movie, the series? He saves the day by stopping a truck and throwing it. Yeah, I think that's what he did, and he pulls the truck up or something like that. I don't remember that show. I
remember him pulling on the truck, but he was having trouble pulling on the truck. I don't think he could have withstood a head-on collision.
I don't know. I don't know.
They're super soldiers. They're not Superman.
Whatever. So yeah. Well, if you're gonna make a super soldier, I would assume he could flip a truck. What is he going to be a little bit stronger? Spider-Man could do it. I
mean, would there be any need for a super soldier to flip a truck?
I mean,
like as long as he's like stronger than most men. Like, and I don't know, maybe it's just my old school mentality that like going back and like reading. I always remember like whenever they would talk about like Captain America's powers, it was always like he is like Olympian level athlete. He wasn't like super strong to like the point where like he could bend steel bars and stuff like that. They had other characters that could do that. Captain America was like an Olympian level athlete. He's like the peak of human performance in all areas. You know, whether it be agility, whether it be speed, whether it be like there's literally a scene where like she's running side by side with a motorcycle, which I think Bucky did something similar, but I don't recall Steve ever doing anything like that.
I don't know.
So it's like it's just a little weird. It's like maybe it's just because it's animation and they thought it would look cool in animation.
Obviously, that's why they do it. That's the only reason why I would flip a truck. It's because it looks cool. There's like no question about that.
You know,
but the question is, can he do it?
You know, when Steve shows up and Steve's piloting an Iron Man armor that looks like the Mark I armor. It's like this big giant like behemoth of an armor.
Mm-hmm.
And like obviously that Iron Man can, flip over, and it's not even the Iron Man. It's the Hydra Smasher.
Nice.
Yeah. Hydra Smasher. But yeah, but it's the first episode was like the credits popped up at 29 minutes. So the first episode was like a half an hour long, which is slightly longer than a half hour TV show, but more or less around that length, which is nice. I've heard rumor some of the other episodes are not as long. But maybe you just don't need it. Tell the story in the amount of time you need to tell the story. Don't stretch it out just because you want to fill out a time block.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I want to see it just for the animation. It looks intriguing, but I don't care. I don't. Are they tying this into? Because they said it's canon. So
that's what they said. I'm guessing it ties into the multiverse.
Yeah, see, I don't fucking care. It's too much. But
at that point, it's like, well, why have the Watcher narrate it? Even though traditionally the Watcher narrates it in the comics, like you missed an opportunity by not having Kang do the narration.
Yeah,
I feel like they're tying into that.
I guess so. If you're going to use,
unless the Watcher is going to show up at some point in the movies.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the Kang thing. I don't really like that character. Assuming that he's going to be the big bad. Just assuming that.
Well, we'll see.
We will.
I know some people are not too happy with the direction Phase 4 is going. I'm reserving judgment.
I think that I don't fucking care about these phases anymore. I'm calling it right now. I don't think they're ever going to match up to Infinity Gauntlet.
For the first 10 years?
No. Infinity Gauntlet is an iconic comic book. It's really easy to adapt. You know what I mean? It's not even really an Avengers movie or comic. It's more like an ultra event where everybody's involved. So like that works. But like I can't think off the top of my head another ultra event that happened in comic books.
There was never another ultra event that like matched that level.
Exactly. So like,
I mean, technically there's an ultra event, but it's before that, which is Secret Wars.
Yeah, but that like pales in comparison.
That's a whole weird thing with like the Beyonder and let's take all the heroes and pit them against each other and just I don't see that working as a movie.
They tried doing that with Civil War and that was just like a backyard brawl.
Well, the whole as somebody pointed out to me, and it's like, yeah, it makes total sense. Civil War was just freaking like we want to cash in on the whole Batman versus Superman thing.
Yeah.
So let's do Civil War and do a movie.
Exactly.
I think originally it was going to be like Captain America and the Serpent Society or something like that.
See, that would have been better. But
yeah, because it was going to be all about like Hydra and stuff like that.
Yeah, but whatever. But like, yeah, I don't think there's going to be another one because I can't think of another. Except for, I mean, there are some Galactus stuff, but they're cool, but they're not like every
And in order to do Galactus the right way, you need to introduce the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, well, they're going to do that eventually. I'm talking about later down the pipeline when you and I probably don't give a fuck about this shit anymore.
I don't know what their plans are for the X-Men.
No one does.
But
anyway, the point I was trying to get to is that like it's never going to get to a point where like the phases. I don't care about these phases anymore because I don't think there's a storyline that fits.
We may have reached the point where it's no longer let's watch them all, and now it might just be like this one looks interesting.
That's where I was going at. So like these shows are interesting. I like these shows. I liked Wanda. I didn't like the ending. I didn't really like the Winter Soldier Falcon. I didn't like that one too much, but I watched it. I'm super excited for Moon Knight because I like Moon Knight and She-Hulk, but I don't need them to connect. You know what I mean? I like if they do like a Defenders situation, Netflix Defenders, where these characters come together and they do something for like a series for like maybe like a season and then that's it. I'll be cool with that, but I don't need to do the movie thing anymore.
Well, but here's the thing: like I don't mind. In fact, I love that all these characters exist in the same universe, and that they are aware of like the big events that occurred in the universe.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like I don't
need the stories to interconnect.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm fine with like Moon Knight's story being Moon Knight's story, and if Moon Knight just so happens to kind of show up in one of the movies, just like even if he just shows up in the background. Like that was one of my things with like the Netflix characters was like they had already established like Daredevil and all of that by the time like Avengers came out. If you would have just done like in that like Battle of New York, just somewhere in the background, Daredevil like jumping from one roof to another as like he fights off like an alien. I don't need more than that. That's all I need to go, oh shit, that was Daredevil in the background. oh man, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to acknowledge it on Daredevil's show, because for all I know, we don't know where in the timeline that happened. You know? So, so it's one of those things where it's like, and I'm sorry, I said, Infinity War. By the time Infinity War, that they were established characters. Although by the time Infinity War rolled around, I think they were already kind of like on the outs with Netflix and knowing that they were going to like pull their properties. So
yeah, I don't know, but still, like, I don't know, I don't see.
But like that, yeah, when like Tony Stark and Doctor Strange and Wong are fighting, these people. Power Man in the background, like catching a piece of falling debris from like preventing it from like landing on a group of people.
Yeah, I mean, there's many things they could have done. They just didn't do.
And those are little things that you do that go, oh, we're gonna do this as fan service for the fans that watch it, but we don't need to involve the character in the story.
Yeah,
I don't
know. The reason why I was bringing that up is because I don't want them to be, because it's kind of like you're putting yourself in a box when you're trying to make everything connect.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like,
right.
You can't make characters do crazy shit because it has to fall in line with what the whole universe is doing.
Exactly.
But that's my only gripe with the shows. But my question is
one of those things that like the comics has done that forever. Like every character has their own stories and their own things that they're going through, and it's just every once in a while their lives just happen to crash into the lives of other characters.
As a matter of fact, majority of the time there's like the X-Men will be, not even the X-Men because the X-Men are a pretty big team, but like Moon Knight, fuck it, where Moon Knight is dealing with some fucking shit in New York, but why isn't it an Avenger? You know what I mean? It's just him. You know, why, if it's such a big deal, why doesn't Captain America come here and just smush this and be on with it? Because you don't want to be in a box. You want it to be intriguing.
Because Captain America is busy dealing with something that's happening somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because for us, as big a city as New York is, and as small of a world as it is, shit happens all over the place with other people not knowing about it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't see that, but yeah, I guess
when Spider-Man is fighting, the Green Goblin over the skies of New York, why doesn't Iron Man show up and like, oh, Green Goblin, you've escaped from prison, let's take you in? Like, no, because Iron Man's dealing with his own shit. He's doing his own thing that's happening over there. Like,
I mean, sure, but I mean, my point is that they go above and beyond, and if everything's interconnected, you have these questions. Why didn't they come over here and just solve this if it's such a big deal? You know what I mean? There was a whole thing where back in the day, back in early Spider-Man, Lizard is trying to turn everybody into lizards. Why doesn't someone just come in here and smush them?
Right.
You know what I mean?
But also,
Spider-Man, because you have to get that conflict.
But let's also be honest. Like there are some shit that happens in the world where it's like you don't need to drop in like the big heavy A-lister for what's going on. And there are some things in the world that like this hero would never go up against that threat. Like Daredevil was always very much like I have my group of characters that I deal with. They're mostly street criminals, and I deal with the Kingpin who's running street crime in the city.
Yeah, because his comic book didn't sell that well. But Spider-Man is the exact same thing, but then he's fighting Galactus. You know what I mean? It's comic books. You can't complain. It's because Spider-Man sells, so they're going to put him in a book with Galactus. You're not going to put Daredevil because his book doesn't sell.
But if you are putting Spider-Man in a book with Galactus, odds are that the Fantastic Four are going to make an appearance at some point.
Yeah, well,
because he's going to go to Reed Richards and be like, what's going on here? Or like Galactus shows up, Spider-Man is going to the for Four Freedoms Plaza or whatever the Baxter Building or wherever the Fantastic Four are living at the moment to try to find Reed Richards. And if he can't find him, then he's gonna be like, oh shit, well I guess I have to deal with it myself.
Yeah,
But Spider-Man's instinct when Galactus shows up is not I need to fight Galactus.
The point isn't that. The point is that it's revolving around sales of the comic books. That's why you see them going against certain threats. The Spider-Man is a street level in all of his powers, he's just a street level fucking.
Yeah, he's a street level character.
That's it. But he's always fighting ultra.
He's an average guy who he just happens to like bump into trouble and. But I mean, how many of Spider-Man's villains are like global threat level villains?
His villains?
Of his villains, not Marvel Universe villains. That's
what I'm saying. But that's the whole point of what I was trying to make is that if you put them in a box, they're focusing on getting into the Galactus. I'm using Galactus as an example. They're focusing. Okay, so the next one's gonna be fucking Doom, right? Fuck it, it's gonna be Doom. What the fuck is Moon Knight gonna do against Doom? Don't put yourself in that box. Let him deal with some fucking wild shit that he could deal with. You know what I mean? Like some mental fucked up shit. Speaking of,
Moon Knight is dealing with a guy that Doom has paid to like steal something for him.
Right, but okay, yeah. But what's the main bad guy for Doom, or for Moon Knight? Who do you think is going to be in the show? His main villain.
Well, I mean, I think his like number one villain that is like his Bushman or something like that.
See, I've read.
He's like the mercenary guy that left him to die in the pyramid.
And he's also in like a Doom. Fuck, I keep saying Doom, but Moon Knight costume.
No, he's not in a Moon Knight costume.
See, that's the thing.
He wears like army clothes.
That's the thing about Moon Knight. That's why I say I like the character. I don't really like his stories. You know, he always has a different villain. I've read a handful of Moon Knight books, and every time there's like a different threat. Like one of them, the most intriguing one that I thought was actually really interesting was either I don't remember exactly who this character was, but he looked just like Moon Knight except black. Like he had a black suit, and like everything was like hand stitched together instead of like professionally stitched. He looked like a fucking ragged Moon Knight character, and his whole thing is he's like the nega. He's like exactly like Moon Knight, but I keep seeing Doom. I can't get him out. He's like exactly like Moon Knight, but he's like the evil version of him. You know what I mean? So that was interesting because they have the same abilities. They think very similar. I think he was like his partner in the mission that turned him into Moon Knight. And then his partner got super obsessed with him and just figured out everything about him and then just became the Moon Knight. So like the fact that he's fighting against himself, it's like it was a pretty interesting comic. And the other one, he was just dealing with like supernatural shit in another book because he's fucking crazy. Another one you were saying there was like a soldier guy. I guess it's Bushman. So like he always has a different character. I don't think anyone's ever written a really good Moon Knight book because he's so like hard to tackle. You know what I mean? So I'm really wondering what the main bad guy for his show is going to be, or if he's going to be the bad guy. You know, maybe it's a man versus himself type situation.
It could be.
Yeah. So that's what's getting me intrigued about Moon Knight. Moon Knight could be super fucking cool, where he thinks he's a good guy, but actually he's the villain of this. You know. Like he's like a criminal, you know what I mean? Like Batman, right. If Batman was in real life, he would be a criminal. You know what I mean? So that's going to be pretty interesting. And She-Hulk, I have no idea. I've read only one comic book from She-Hulk back in like the 90s, I think it was, where she was like super aware of her being a comic, and it's not even like she had a bad guy. It was just her dealing with life as She-Hulk, and I thought that was awesome. So I don't even know what this show is going to be about for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, Doom, Moon Knight is going to be pretty interested in that one.
Anyways, dude, I am so happy you were able to join me before I rambled on for like half an hour. That was issue 95, man. We got five more issues to issue 100.
100. It's gonna be sick.
And then we'll see what happens from there. But man, you got anything you're looking forward to over the next couple weeks?
Bro, not really. I mean, I was really looking forward to Suicide Squad, but that's already out. So.
I'm looking forward to. I did not watch last week's episode of The Bad Batch because it said part 1, and part 2 is coming out this week. So I was like, I'll wait and I'll watch them together. But it's a 2-part season finale for The Bad Batch. I've been enjoying The Bad Batch, and I I think they haven't said it yet, but I think the little girl is a clone of Palpatine.
What little? I haven't watched it, so I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
that show I'm gonna wait until it's all out because
it's Filoni, man. All the entire season or the entire series.
I don't know. I hate watching these things in pieces, so I'm gonna wait for that one because that one I'm actually interested in.
I'll definitely let you know if the season ends in a cliffhanger, and if it does, maybe you'll wait. But if it doesn't end in a cliffhanger, I strongly suggest watching all of season 1.
All right. Yeah, I didn't like the Bad Batch characters in season 7 of Clone Wars, but I trust Filoni.
Well, they get a little bit more fleshed out, obviously, in this show, and I just
trust Filoni. He could do anything. I believe him.
Yeah, it's fun Star Wars, man. It's not, it's not trying to give you any messages. It's not trying to sell you on something. It's just fun Star Wars.
Yeah.
And Filoni, we trust, man.
Yeah, Filoni, I trust that guy. He can do no wrong.
Filoni for president.
Yeah, for sure.
Not of Lucasfilm. Filoni for president of the United States.
Yeah.
Because that man will approach it with sincerity and try to give us a good story while he's being president.
That's what we need. That's what we need in this country. But yeah, no, I'm gonna wait because I want to see all of it at once. I'm pretty sure he's gonna do some crazy shit.
If you stuck around to the end, thank you guys. If you've enjoyed the conversation, make sure to hit that like button and leave your comments. We do go in, we do read the comments, so just let us know. And until next time, we'll see you later, Sith heads.